Welcome to the lesson recording for Computer Fundamentals Week 4. And you can see that I have Week 4 listed here already. As always, broken down into 2 different days, so you can make it work out for whatever your work schedule is, your schoolwork schedule. So you can see that by Tuesday you can have this stuff finished, by Thursday have this finished, and then you can use Friday for anything that you didn't get completed. So there are, similar to the last unit, there are 5 different sections, 6 sections in this one, and you're going to go through each of them to do the work for the unit. And in this unit, you have Project 1 assignment, and then a Project 3 assignment. I'm not sure where the Project 2 assignment might be. We'll look to see what that is. And then, of course, you have the unit exam at the end. And in this unit, it's going to talk about how you present information using styles and headers, shading patterns, colors, different things like that, checking your spelling, grammar, those types of things. There is a discussion assignment, but you'll skip that discussion assignment. And then finally, in the end, start looking at PowerPoint and combining PowerPoint and Excel and doing some chart work. As a reminder, we are in week 4, so we're almost halfway through the class. We've had about 280 points in class so far. So 60% of that would be about 160 something. So hopefully you're at least at that and you're passing. Please remember, I have for you down here project videos, like from week 2, how to do the charts, video of how to create the table and chart, price comparison doing the multiple charts in week 3 on project 3. So I try to give you videos and screenshots of these things, so use these resources. Lastly, please remember that in the quizzes or the exams, I should say, I do not let you do exams more than once, so make sure you use the exam preview before you go in and do the exams. All right, let's go ahead and jump into week 4 work and right into unit 1 or section 1. And as we look at this, you can see that this is going to focus on professional documents and presentations, how to find tips and tricks that can make your documents and presentations look more professional, look nicer, different things like that. Now, one thing to think about is that no matter what you're presenting, you want to present it nicely. If it's something for school, you want it to look good so you get a better grade. If it's something for an employer eventually, you want it to look good so it reflects well on you, whether it's part of your job to make presentations or whether you're doing a resume for a job. The first opinion people have of you is the work that you do. So if you use some good guidelines and think about how you want things to look, then you'll do much better, obviously. Now, before we jump into all of this, as usual, we want to go in and look at the Class Connect write-up so we can answer the questions, right? So we're going to have 3 questions in section 2. How are styles and headers useful? Define styles in word processing. Give 3 types of styles. Explain how bold and italics are used differently. So we want to keep those things in mind. So let's jump into section 2. And styles and headers, they make your documents more consistent. And really what they allow you to do, they allow you to customize formatting options and have Word remember them for future use throughout the document. So that's the usefulness of styles and headers, is they allow you to customize formatting options and have the Word remember them for future use. You can save customizations you make, save styles and such. In this unit, we're going to look at gathering, evaluating, using information, create professional documents, create and manipulate presentations and documents, and explore the use of styles and headers. Now, taking a look at this, here's a person's resume. Now, what can be wrong with this? Well, look at the different typefaces. Look at that style. Look at this style down here, this style and text size. So you can see that all different types of problems with this, right? Mixed styles. This doesn't present the person very well, does it? So now we're going to start looking at style. And in Word, styles are different configurations of your text. So some styles, there could be the font, which is the typeface. There could be the size, the color, or the emphasis, like bold, italics, or whatever. So these are 3 styles, or 4 styles. And you can see down below here, possible uses of these styles. So like here's bold on option 1 up here, bold is used. Down here, bold is used on the person's name. And then down here, information to the side, and then the name is bold. So you can see how styles can be used. And in Word, you have about 8 different choices. You could have no emphasis on words, you could have bold only, underline only, etc. Now, a lot of times you have bold, underline, and italics. That's overkill. So you can see some principles you need to think about. Don't overkill, be consistent, be logical. So if you're doing something that has side headings, make all the side headings be the same look, the same styles, and then your paragraphs would have a little bit different styles. So here's some typical uses of bold. So bold can highlight a specific word or words in text, and it stands out to the eye, so the eye would move to what is bolded. Underlining. Underlining is less emphasis. Often for highlighting you use underlining. And when you're writing a paper by hand, of course, pen and paper, you use underlining because it's just much easier to do. It's hard to bold or italics with pen and pencil, isn't it? But underlining is a good way to get emphasis with pen and pencil. Typical uses of italics. Certainly you've seen it in bibliographies where you have to use it. And of course, italics in Microsoft Office, it could be Control-I, or in OpenOffice, Control-I does the other thing. And italics, it's almost like bold, where it can make a single word or a phrase stand out. But if you look at this, bold is used to make a word stand out. Italics makes you pay more attention to it when you read it. So that's the difference between bold and italics. So bold makes it stand out, so your eyes go to it immediately. But then italics makes you, as you read it, pay more attention to it. So those are the differences between bold and italics. More information, of course, headings, and here's a little video about adding headings and things like that to a document. So read through this. You don't necessarily have to do the work that they explain here, but go through that, listen to it, and watch to see the different styles that they can put on. Look, you can put on headings and the way you can do it. And of course, there's the style button. So in Office and in OpenOffice, I think, has it also. You can create different styles. So you can have a centered style, a heading 1 style, a heading 2 style. And then once those styles are established, then in your document, all you have to do is highlight text and then go choose the style you want for it. And then it would do it automatically. So that's where it's talking about predefined styles. So you're welcome to create a document like this and practice if you want to. The different style lists, we've seen that a couple of times, so you can see the style list. If you go to styles and formatting, all the different styles that are pre-created, and then you could also create your own styles. So creating a new style, so while the cursor is on certain words, then you click new style, give it a name, change the font to whatever you want. So if you're practicing this going along with the presentation and practicing this in Word, you can do all this stuff. If not, make sure you know how to do that work. And then you can see that different styles have been done to this document. Some centered styles, some bolding styles, etc. So in summary, we look at bold, underline, italics, and how they're used for emphasis. Too much is overkill and makes the document hard to read. Using styles, you can keep your document consistent. And of course, styles can be customized. Okay, Project 1 assignment. So in this assignment, you're going to find some good and bad examples of style emphasis usage. So you can go online. It says right here you can look at online media, you can look at books and flyers and things like that. In the work you're going to do, you're going to find one example of good emphasis where somebody used bold, italics, and underline in a good way. Find bad emphasis. Find one example of well-used style headings, one example of poorly used style headings. And you're going to do this in a Word document, or you can do it in an open office document, whichever one you want. As it says here, you're going to have two sections, one for emphasis, one for headings. So one section is going to have these two things answered, one section is going to have these two things answered. So make sure I can tell them apart, please. Cite your sources, so if you find it from a website, make sure you include the URL. And then you save the document, and I recommend you save the document as Unit 7 Assignment 1. Then you know exactly what the assignment is, right? Just call it Unit 7 Assignment 1. And your grading document, the actual assignment document, you can see is right here. Essentially tells you the same things, but it also tells you how you're going to get graded. So make sure you've done all of these things, and then you'll end up getting the full credit. Never turn in work unless you've checked the grading document. So again, you're going to do these two things and these two things. Explain why they are good and bad, why you think they're good and bad examples. And for each of the sections you have, you're going to create your own custom style heading for that. Okay, so that's going to be an easy work to do. Probably knock that out at about a half an hour at the most. And if you can't find any styles for emphasis, good emphasis, poor emphasis, then you can go ahead and create your own if you'd like to. All right, so that's section 2. So let's go back to the Class Connect write-up. Make sure we answer all the questions. How are styles and headers useful? Talk about that. Give 3 types of styles and define styles. We did that. How are bold and italic different? We did that. 4 pitfalls in using color. 2 methods to select items in Windows. So now we're into section 3. And in section 3, use of colors is really important, right? Because color can really enhance what somebody's looking at. And these days, I mean, color is in everything. It used to be just in the Sunday newspapers and the comics and other sections in the Sunday paper, but now color is used quite a bit because it's a lot less to print, a lot less expensive to print in color these days. So in this unit, we're going to look at professional documents, or in this section, I should say, create and manipulate presentations in documents, and explore the use of shading, patterns, and colors. Some of the pitfalls of using color. Pitfalls means the bad things about it, because if you fall into a pit, that's bad, right? The color on your laptop screen may be different than printed on paper. So if you're creating something that you want somebody to print out in color, it may end up being different, looking different than the way you wanted it to look. The color on the laptop, if you project it on a projection screen, could look different. Some people are colorblind, so if you make something in red, people may see it as green or as black if they're red-green colorblind. Color print is more expensive than just black print. Too much color can be distracting, especially in a presentation. In color documents, when you print them in black and white, they can be unreadable. So you need to remember the use on the other end. Who's going to be using this, and how are they going to use it? I never send anything out in color unless I know it's going to be printed in color, or the person wants to see it in color. I usually send it black and white because that's how most people print documents these days. So there's some pitfalls to using color. Now, some common things about color in spreadsheets: you can put color on your headings and your side margins, and that really makes things stand out. So just light gray is a good way to make things stand out instead of using color. You can use color to highlight particular pieces of information. I'd never recommend having black, because if somebody wanted to print this out, that uses a lot of toner from their cartridge, or ink from their inkjet printer. Reverse type, that's another way to do it, but of course all this black, all these thick colors, these heavy colors, they would want to print. And sometimes when you print these things in black and white, it's really hard to read the information. But emphasis like that could be good for a website or something. Green, red, yellow, and green as status checks. This is really good, like if you're doing a project with multiple people or just something on your own. Green would mean go, or we're on schedule. Red would mean we're off schedule, or something needs to be reviewed about it. Yellow would mean, hey, we need to get going on this. There's some questions about it. So you can see how people could use colors like that to define how their work needs to be done. So you can see how green could be used, how yellow could be used, how red could be used. So that's kind of an interesting way to use color, isn't it? Using color in diagrams. So you can see how this diagram, in this one, does the color add anything to this? Well, from an artistic point of view, you might think it does, but for user's sake, I don't think it does. I mean, somebody just put in color just to add color to it. It really doesn't mean anything. Okay, now selecting multiple items. So like this, if a person had these items in a Word document, and they wanted to make all of them green, or all the arrows green, then they would click on one arrow, then hold down the Control key, click on the next arrow, click on the next, and it chooses all of them at the same time. Then they put the color on all three at the same time. So that's to choose multiple items, hold down the Control button while clicking on the items, and that way you can choose multiple. Another way to choose multiple items, like if I wanted to choose everything on this page right here, I could click right here at the top, and then I would drag across everything, then it would select all these objects. So there are two ways to choose multiple items. Hold down Control and then click on the individual items to choose them all, or select multiple items by using the mouse drag and just dragging across, and that selects all of the items. Those are two ways to select multiple items. So here you can see that you'd insert the document, then you'd go to check the status, and if it failed, then you report the error. If it worked, then it sends data, then it prints a success log. So you can see how red and green could work in an instance like this, in this plan of action. And this is just some practice, nothing to turn in here, so you can just go fiddle around with shading, styles, patterns, etc. Okay, let's go to the write-up, see where we are. Provide 4 pitfalls, we did. 2 methods to select multiple items in Windows, we did that, right? Okay, we're moving on to section 4. Many times a spelling error is no big deal, given example of when a spelling error could be a big deal. What are the steps to set up automatic spell checking in Word? Alright, so let's go to section 4. In section 4, now we're going to talk about spelling and grammar. So as this says, at first glance, a spelling error may not be a big deal. If you're doing a 10-page paper and you have 5 spelling errors, that's not bad for a 10-page paper. Or if you're emailing a friend or something like that, it's not a big deal. But a spelling error on a resume, like when you're applying for a job, or a spelling error when you fill out a job application, that can be a big deal. That could be the difference between getting your pre-collegiate experience or spending the summer at home. So it's really important. The more important the document, then obviously the more important the editing and grammar and spelling and everything is. So after this section, we'll identify some common spelling and grammar mistakes, use spell checking, auto check, etc., and create professional documents. So here's a little video about using spell check. So just run through that. I think it runs for about 3 or 4 minutes or so. And you can control spell check. You can make it so it checks things automatically. So in Windows, you can go under the options, or like in the word processor, I mean, options and spelling and grammar. As you can see, you can make it say check spelling as you type. And then that way, as you're typing along, it'll fix things for you as you go. Same thing here with grammar, you can do that. So that's how you can automatically set these up. So you just go into the options of your word processing program and click the boxes to make it do whatever you want it to do. So this just talks more about setting up the autocorrect. So again, this is the process. So it's from the Tools menu. So if you're in Word Processor, go to open up Word Processor here. And of course, this is a different version, so I have to kind of search around for where I find tools. Which I hate that they've changed everything around in the different versions. Let's see here. I'm not doing a very good job of demonstrating what to do here, am I? Well, I'm going to get out of this because I just haven't explored this version of Office and where you go in to set up all the spelling. I haven't seen up here where the tools and options and all of that is. But you'll need to find it in yours, and of course I can always go over to the question arrow for help, or the question for help. Type tools and see what we find. What happened to the options command? That's what I want to know. So File, Help, Options. See what that does. So File, there's options way down here. So here are all of our options. So here's proofing. Now we can go into autocorrect and do those types of things. So you can see my version is different the first time I've explored this, and your version is obviously going to be different too. Okay, enough of that. So let's jump back into the presentation. Okay, how Word can help you correct document errors. Another short presentation, so you can watch this to see what you can do with Word to correct errors. Manually correcting mistakes, you can right-click on a word, and then you can try the spelling from that. The grammar checker. If the grammar checker is turned on, you'll see a green squiggly line under certain words. Double words. Spell checker and grammar checker will also check double words. So if we look at this, spelling and grammar mistakes can distract readers from the work that you work that you put in. So you can see that the word "the" is twice, and sometimes we miss that when we read it over, but Microsoft Office can find that for you automatically. Some common mistakes. The word loose for lose. It's, meaning it is, for it's. There. So you can see some of the common errors that grammar checking might find, spelling checking, spell check will not find. Homophones, those could be confusing. Finally, so we looked at how to use autocorrect, how to detect and correct errors, and common mistakes made by everyone. Discussion, we're skipping the discussions for this class, but you might think about some of these things, some common errors that happen. Okay, let's go back to the Class Connect write-up. And now we went through, we answered these questions. Okay, section 5, 2 methods to add animation effects to a slide presentation. So section 5, so here we are talking about slide transitions and animations. So to add animation effects, those are the two ways. You can do it through slide transitions or through slide animations. That's how you add animation effects to PowerPoints. So create and manipulate a PowerPoint, explore slide transitions, and create professional documents is what we'll do in this section. So you can see that this is going to start talking about, right off the bat, the slide transitions, the fade to black, like in movies and things like that, where the screen might fade away. So in PowerPoint, you can choose slide transition. So you're in slideshow, slide transition, then you can tell the slide what you want it to do as it moves from one slide to the next. So a transition is as it's moving from one slide to the next is transition. You can see all the different things you can do with slide transitions. And that again is going from one slide to the next, from one screen to the next. Slide transitions. Here's a little tutorial on creating a slide transition and choosing the right kind. So make sure you go through that to see what it has to offer. Some guidelines to using it. Pick no more than 3 different types. Avoid just random transitions. Make sure they add to your presentation and they do not detract from it. You don't want to use really slow transitions. You want to have them to where people aren't going to be bored as they're watching it transition from one slide to the next. And then there are animations. So there's transitions and then animations. And animations, it can do different things like display, as this says, one bullet at a time. So a speaker can speak about a certain object and they hit enter, and then the next bullet point will come up. So that's how you can animate a slide. So watch this short video about animating a slide in PowerPoint. Guide for using slide animation. Make sure it's not too slow or too fast. Not every slide needs to have an animation. Use them only for emphasis. They're tricky. Look right here's a double. Whoever created this class didn't check this out, did they? They didn't do what they're supposed to do with their grammar and spelling. Custom animation. Now custom animation is really nice as you can make different things show up at different times. You can make the arrows pop in when you want them to. So custom animation is really nice. And here are all the steps to create a custom animation. So you have your slide done, all your information, then you go up to slideshow, custom animation. Then you make all these items. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 different items in here. Actually 10 and 11 when we look at the writing. And you can make all those come in at different times, come in at different ways. And you're going to add an effect on this first box, tell it what to do. So you add an effect on all the different boxes and by telling them what to do. So this just has you working through that. If you're practicing this on your own, then you could go through and practice doing that presentation. Then finally there's some edit effect or exit effects, how you want it to leave the presentation. So look at transitions, animations, and custom animations. And now this is going to be a little bit tricky for some of you. Now those that took Computer Fundamentals A, you did something called Science Experiment 2. That's where you had your science experiment, and then you made the last slide that had a bunch of images and icons and graphics on it and things like that. So what you're going to do, you're going to open up that Science Experiment 2. You're going to immediately call it Science Experiment 3. And this you did in PowerPoint. Once you call it Science Experiment 3, then you're going to go to that last slide that had the different drawings on it and graphics and things, and you're going to add some animation to that. So that I would be able to open up your PowerPoint and I'll see animations for all of your objects you had. You can see the requirements here, and I'll go ahead and download the assignment sheet. Take a look at this, and it says, so you're going to add custom animation to what you did in Science Experiment 2. So you'll open it and save it as Science Experiment 3. Now those of you that have not done this work, what you can do is you can just go into PowerPoint and create a slide, call it Science Experiment, that's fine. And we saw in this unit how there were like 4 or 5 different boxes and then arrows between the boxes. You could duplicate something like that on a slide, and then you go in and animate that. So just because you don't have Science Experiment 2, you can still create a PowerPoint slide that has 4 or 5 boxes on it and then some arrows on it, and then animate those different items. So there's no excuse not to do this. You could make a demonstration of how you drive to the mall when you go to the mall. So first box might say drive down Main Street, then you have an arrow. Second box might say turn left on 5th Street, etc. And then have an arrow that points to the mall or something. So you can see how you're going to be graded in this work. Make sure that you have animations when I run it as a slideshow. So again, no excuses to not do that, even if you don't have your old Science Experiment. You can create a slide that has items on it. All right, let's go to the Class Connect write-up. We're almost finished, so hang in there. And we answered this question. 2 methods for adding animation slide effects. There's transitions and custom animations. Finally, 6, give an example of copying information between different Office applications. Why would you do it, and between which programs might you do it? So you're going to give an example of something from real life. So let's go into Section 6, Charts, PowerPoint, and Excel. So Office makes it very easy to copy between applications. One might be that you could take a chart in Excel, like the gas charts we created earlier. You could take a chart like that and then paste it into PowerPoint. So we're going to create and manipulate PowerPoint, explore the uses of charts in Excel within PowerPoint, and create a presentation. So like this says, we learned how to make a table in Computer Fundamentals 1. We learned how to use PowerPoint, and we also know how to create a chart in Excel. So the way that one would do this, you could copy the table data, and then you could put the table right into PowerPoint. You can practice this if you want to as you go along. So you can put the table into PowerPoint, and PowerPoint's going to want to format your table. So you have to kind of see how it tries to format it. You might need to tweak it a little bit. Then you can paste it as a picture. So sometimes you might just take the chart or the table and paste it as a picture. So there are different ways that you can do it. So you could paste the picture of a table. And the results, so once you create that chart, then you can edit the results, make it look the way you want it. Now once you have Excel already, and once you have a chart, then you can just click on that chart, make it active, and then copy that chart and put it into PowerPoint. So this talks about how you can just take that chart, like the gas charts that we created back in when we first started the class, and how you can put those into a PowerPoint slide. So a little bit more. So this talks about copying from PowerPoint to Excel. So you can take pictures from PowerPoint, you can copy those back into Excel. So it can go either way, from Excel to PowerPoint with a chart or a table, and then things you created in PowerPoint you can put into Excel. As you have different lists of information, we could take all of this, if we had this in Word, and then we could put it in Excel, and it would put all that stuff in individual cells. So you can see how you can move lots of stuff around in different programs. So you select the data, text to columns in the data menu, choose delimited, and copy and paste it in. So there are different ways that you can do this. So summary, copying tables and charts into PowerPoint, copying objects from Excel to Excel from PowerPoint, and then doing columns in Excel from using Word. So review, in this whole unit of study, we looked at all these things: styles and headers, colors, patterns, the red, yellow, green method, bold, underline, italics, grammar checkers, spelling, all that stuff. Now you're ready for the unit exam. And as always, there's a unit exam preview right here on the left. So make sure you answer the questions for unit exam preview before you do the unit exam, because I do not allow you to do exams more than once. Okay, last thing, we go back to course home. And once I'm in course home, if I click on week 4, then I can see that you're going to turn in project 1. I think number 2 is probably the discussion that we're not doing. And then you're going to turn in project 3. Then you have the exam. So that's the work for this week. Pretty quick, pretty easy work. So I look forward to your work coming in. And thanks for watching. And of course, after you've watched this, then you end up getting 100% on the Class Connect write-up. Thanks, everyone. Bye.